Okay, it's me again, and I'm at the park. Joshua Freed. I was one of the only independent moderator on the gubernatorial debate for Republicans, and I remember three things that stood out about you: your background in behavioral health, and your answers about behavioral health. And when I asked the question, with growing racial tensions in the United States and coming across the country, with protests planned in both King County and Spokane that weekend, what would you say as to Washingtonians today? And your answer blew me away. A lot of people fumbled and faltered, and that made me, you touched my heart. And then you said you were going to donate your entire salary back to behavioral health services.
Yeah.
So that just blew my mind. So I was like, I got to see this guy. I got to get to know him. And so you came by yesterday and didn't have a lot of time, but I'm glad you just give me 4 minutes of your time.
Absolutely.
So I just want to ask a question. Now, there's a lot of things that people volunteer to do. So I understand running for city council. I understand running for mayor.
Sure.
But governor is like insane.
Yeah.
What made you choose to run for governor?
Well, it's definitely a call in your life for sure, but what I saw happening firsthand with the homeless situation across our state, certainly it was very much focused on Seattle, but now it's focused spread across Yakima, Spokane. I've seen it in Pend Oreille, I've seen it in Stoughton County, so it's an issue that faces the entire state. And for me, I'm just called to love our neighbor, to reach our hand down when people are in need. And right now, there's a lot of issues that people go into homelessness that I don't believe are truly being addressed. Whether it's an economic situation, I just think that's being exacerbated with these directives from our governor today, where we have the highest unemployment in the land. Like for instance, I was just in Seattle a couple weeks ago, met with 150 people we were serving meals to on the streets in Pioneer Square. I met 6 to 8 people first-time homelessness because of what's happening with the unconstitutional directives. But the two biggest reasons I see for homelessness is, number one, we see unaddressed mental health issues, where 30% of the homeless are struggling from mental illness. We have a broken mental health system in Washington State, where it was decertified by the federal government with Western State Hospital just 2 years ago, and still Jay Inslee has not made it a priority. So the most vulnerable among us are left to wander the streets without a sphere of influence and help. And then 80% of the homeless are struggling from drug and alcohol addiction. So drug abuse is continuing to infiltrate in our society, and with that, crime is increasing. So we've seen a 20% increase in crime on individuals, on first responders. We've seen murder increase by 41% and rape increase by 65%. So I just have a heart for the people to say we need to enforce the laws, yet at the same time, we need to reach our hand down and help these people come back to be contributing members of society again. That's true love, that's true compassion, that's loving your neighbor.
So this is what really got me. So you were at a debate last night, and a question came up about Juneteenth. Can you tell everybody that and your answer?
Well, the question was, with Juneteenth, should it become a national holiday, and do we need to have more police training? And the questions collectively from my 4 other opponents were, no, we don't need to make a new holiday. We have plenty of holidays already, and we are fine with our police training. I'm like, wow, you're completely tone deaf to what's going on within our society today, where there's so much division, there's so much misunderstanding. And for police training, I support our first responders for sure. I mean, we need more law enforcement in the land, we need to stand behind them, but the reality is we should always be looking for ways that we can improve ourselves, whether it's in the medical industry, whether it's the home building industry, or with police. We need to make sure that they are funded, to make sure that they get the training that they need to always continue to better themselves. To hear from one of my opponents, who is actually a police officer, say we don't need more training is asinine to me. And to say we don't need a holiday is unbelievable. I think about Nazi Germany, where Nazism went in and killed millions of Jews there. That's a plight upon Germany that they've tried to reject and push away their whole life. And I'm thinking about slavery in America, the greatest evil in our history. We absolutely need to memorialize the end of slavery in Texas and across the U.S. And as a Republican, we are the party leading that back on Abraham Lincoln days. We've always said, no, we honor and love our neighbors, and we need to have more understanding and reconciliation. We should strive for that each and every day. Where there's a misunderstanding, we try to have reconciliation and understanding. Right. Too much hate, too much judgment's going on today. We should all collectively come together the best that we can. But yet, in diversity, we celebrate that. For me, I've lived overseas, gone to 48 countries. I love diversity. I love different cultures. I love to understand we don't have to all be made the same. We're made in God's image. We're not made in each other's image. And with that, that means there's more that we can learn about each other, and we can grow deeper in our understandings and even in our own faith.
Well, since you talk about faith, there's a large LGBTQ population, and they have come to, a lot of them have come to hate Christians because there's some extreme groups that come out and say all these things and pass off so much judgment, causing people to commit suicide, causing so much hurt, and just in pain, and just to make them like shun all believers. And for me, if me being a black person, if somebody met a black person that stole from them and they said all black people are criminals, I'm going to have a problem with that because that's racism. And I feel the same thing is happening to believers. Every believer is not out hurting and saying mean and hateful things to people. So what is your opinion about that?
I think there's so much hate that goes around that people are judging people, condemning people, and we need to end that. We need more love. The greatest commandments from the Lord were love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. And yet we see in our society so much hate, so much judgment, so much division. And I don't think, certainly under this current governor, we're going to find reconciliation because he divides us into groups of essential versus non-essential. And even before this time, he allows you to have a seat at the table if you have a powerful, well-connected lobbyist, and he leaves other people, ranchers, orchardists, and other people throughout the state disconnected. I mean, met with developmentally disabled folks who've been left behind by Jay Inslee. I've met with the mentally ill who've been left behind by Jay Inslee. People in more difficult economic situations left behind. And so we need a governor who can truly bring us together to understand that we can value each other's differences and different opinions and different perspectives, yet at the same time still enjoy each other. I mean, I used to serve on Bothell City Council. You can have respectful conflict, if that's lack of a better word.
I like conflict with civility. Handle it that way.
Conflict with civility. That's what we need to restore is safety and civility in Washington State, because right now we're seeing just a rampant rise in crime. But on the point, I think you can have a disagreement, but then still go out for a beverage after. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Like, I think that's how we better our society, when we have some dialogue back and forth, and then our understanding, our ideas maybe need to be refined. And with that, then we find for the collective good, we are able to move Washington forward. We're missing that.
I think my last question is, me personally, I'm a believer. And right now, I'm proud of it. And I have been attacked for my faith. So I called a lot of community members in to pray one church, because even the church has been divided and divisive, and you're Protestant, you're this, and all these labels. And if we're really all praying to the same God, why can't we collectively come together? So how do we expect to be a light to everybody else about unity and love when we are divided? So I called it one church. So several church people came out, and somebody called the police, and I was just like, what? They shook my hand and they were all kind at first, and I was like, what did I do? Why are you calling the police on me? What is your stand on that? Because I believe at the First Amendment, you have right to a free religion, you have the right for the freedom of press to assemble, and we're assembling every other place. So why can't we assemble to pray, which is also a part of behavioral health recovery? I work at a behavioral health organization, and I believe that spirituality is a component of that, not necessarily religion, but spirituality. And so where do you stand on that?
Well, that's why I brought my case in federal court against Jay Inslee's directives against spiritual gatherings, where he said you could go cure your anxiety to go to the pot shop and buy marijuana. You can go to a liquor store and buy liquor if that's how you cure your anxiety during this period of time. You can go shopping if that's something else that you like to do to make yourself feel better. But when it came to spiritual gatherings, he said no. So we fought in federal court and won, and so fought for the rights of Christians, Hindus, Muslims, Jews to be able to go worship or meet with their spiritual pastor. That Jay Inslee was saying no. We have that right under the Constitution and the First Amendment, certainly, as you mentioned. And so I fought for that, because in America, we have the right to worship who we want to. And that's the beautiful thing. The separation of church and state is the state shall never dictate to a place of worship what they should do. But people of worship, or people of faith, should be able to go speak into society the values that they have. And then with that dialogue, we better society as a whole.
Well, I know you got to go, and I just want to say I appreciate you. I appreciate your level of understanding and compassion for people who are different than you, that have different perspectives. And it's funny because I was I've always been a person who I voted people over party, and you just stood out to me because you remind me, like, your values hit my heart. Wow. Because I'm about love and compassion and understanding where people are. It's not my place to judge anybody. It's my place to love and be a community. So even though we disagree, it doesn't mean that we're not neighbors. else.
No.
You know, if I was dying in the street, I expect any citizen to come out and get me. I'm not going to say, I'm drowning in the ocean. Help, help, help. I'm not going to say, send me the black hand. I'm going to get out, you know, if I'm drowning.
Well, sad thing in our society today, if somebody's drowning, they said, well, they're the one who got in the water. It's their fault.
Wow.
Like, oh my goodness, we are so broken. But sister, thank you so much.
Thank you.
God bless you.
God bless you.
Good to be together.
This is what we need.
Amen.
We need. You
All
know
right.
what? I got your back. I'll say my thing is freedom, and I think I'm freed.
Vote for freedom.
I'm freed. Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
See you soon.
See you soon.